So today's question is, does your child, your student, know how to use the gradebook? So a lot of time, especially with my older students, I'm really trying to get their expectations of how they did I'm trying to get them another avenue so they can match it and start being self-accountable and knowing how to self-assess. So a lot of times what happens is they think they did great, but it goes weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and they have no idea. And this is actually a real student. And then at the end of the semester, they realize that, oh, they forgot to do this one thing. And this one thing was assigned like 10 times. 10 times throughout the semester. So needless to say, he was very surprised that they had 10 zeros in the gradebook. So this is kind of an extreme case, but even with our little ones, I find that it helps so much, not kinder, maybe not even first, but starting at second grade where they start getting more of that concrete thinking, going through the gradebook with them is very helpful for them to build executive skills, specifically that skill of metacognition, which is that self-talk they have in their head, specifically the skill of task initiation, and the skill of just kind of starting to be an organized student. However, here's my little warning sign. When we're using the gradebook with these students, I want us, the parents, to look at it from, hey, together we are going to learn something about how you've been doing at school. I want you to stay away from, I'm going to look at your grades and either you did really good and I'm going to be so proud, or you did really bad and you were a horrible student. Even though that might not be the language that comes out of our mouth, a lot of times that's what our kids feel like when we go over the gradebook with them, because it ends up being a good or bad. So I really want to try and change the narrative from it being good or bad to almost like a Sherlock Holmes. Let's see what we can find out about how your role as a student is. Because a student is not the only role that our kids have, but it is one, and it is a very important one. And now with, whether you're in person, whether they're at home, whether they're half and half, that role of a student has become very challenging for all of the students. So let's get started. We're going to go over 2 reasons why we should log in with our students and teach our students, if they're old enough, to log in on their own and check what their grades actually are. Number 1, it builds in accountability, right? So it builds in the fact of like, okay, I studied for this test and I got the grade that I thought. It also builds in that reality versus what's actually happened. It's a good checkpoint. So I studied for the test and I did awesome, but I got, let's say, a 50 on the test. So what they thought they did doesn't match what actually happened. So then it becomes an opportunity for them to go back and say, well, I actually studied by doing my homework. So now the next step is like, okay, well, that's not enough. Or I actually didn't study. I just read the notes on my iPad for 5 minutes while I was watching a YouTube video. So we start to get information of, okay, I thought that I studied, but my grade doesn't reflect the grade I thought I have. So what was the action that I took? The other part of this, which I think is almost the harder one, is I took the notes, I reviewed the notes, I studied the notes in advance, and I still bombed the test or didn't get the grade that I thought I got. That also becomes information, because then the student, with our help, can figure out, what's my next step? Is my next step to do more of the same? Is my next step to maybe ask questions in class? Is my next step to ask the teacher for help? Is my next step, maybe they want to do the same thing, right? Because remember, our goal here isn't really about getting a better grade. Our goal here is really to start building the critical thinking of self-assessment, and that voice in our head matches what's really going on in the real world, which is metacognition. I've been talking every week when I come on here. I have a resource sheet. It's Real Life Executive Function Foundations. And I want you guys to pull that sheet more so that you can look at all the different executive functioning skills. So if you decide you want to start going over the gradebook with your student, you can start pulling the different skills that you see are going to be beneficial. I think using the gradebook for your student to build executive functioning skills is a great way because there's so many things that they can pull out of it. So grab that resource. That's, if you're on Facebook, it's on the link on the comments here. And if you're on Instagram, it's in the bio. Let me see. So the last thing I wanted to say is that, reminder, okay, we're looking at the gradebook, not to see if they got good grades or bad grades. We're looking at the gradebook to build in accountability, to start building that self-assessment, to start improving the metacognition. So if this is like extra credit bonus, the last piece of going over the gradebook with these students is if you can get them, I'm going to wave here, you can get them to say, hey, do I want to do anything differently, right? It's like, this is what I thought I did. This is what I actually did. Extra credit bonus would be if we got them to do that next step. Okay, well, next time I'm going to do the same exact thing because I got the grade I thought I was going to get. Next time, yeah, maybe I'm going to check my notes before. Next time, maybe I'm going to ask a question in class. That would be extra credit. But right now, just the act of having them go, check their gradebook, really starts to build in that accountability for them. Okay, friends, so I will be here again next week. If there's any question that comes up during your week, send me a message, let me know. In the meanwhile, grab that executive function sheet, and I will see you guys next week.